Good. Okay. Community Founders Circle case studies. Yes, I had a look in your membership forms. You answered your goals, what your goals are right now. And I did a word cloud from this. So just let this in a bit. We can meditate on it, and I meditated on it. And I hope I can meet your needs, what is important for you right now also. And I, try to respond to this. So it's about vision, support, mission, legal forms, financial questions, benefits, education, and so on. So you see it's on very different levels as well. And that's fine. So just Cynthia already said a few words about me, and just to give you some impressions where I come from my background. So in my student time in the 90s, I started with a small, community in a German town where we did gardening together and lived together also. Then I lived in the Ecovillage Sea in Linden for several years, and I researched this Ecovillage also for a long time. And I did always also long-term research visits in some communities, not as many as Cynthia, but I chose a few communities like Findhorn, Oroville, and many communities in Germany and Austria to really go in depth. So what are the principles that are important to set up a successful community? And also what are the challenges, of course? And I could do this as an academic researcher since 2002 at different universities, and also in different large projects like funded by the European Union, where we ask how these initiatives can work for social change, for social innovation, and for especially sustainable ways of living is my main expertise: sustainability, ecological, social, economic. So, and myself, here is my tiny house where I'm sitting in right now, and my publications you can have a look into on my website. So and I'm also coordinating the community interested people in Austria here. Yeah, and here is where I got to know Cynthia also in the Global Ecovillage Network actually also, and the ICSA. And here is also something online on how to research ecovillages, which is maybe not your main topic. But however, for our case study calls here, the monthly case study calls, so our plan actually, of course, we talked about it and we're agreeing on it. We said, okay, it's interesting to have a topic and then have two main examples, main community examples. And of course, we can draw on more examples, or I can draw on others that I know. And also we will relate to your projects. So, and I know some projects in the USA, but my focus is more on Europe. And that will be hopefully a very fruitful bringing together. So, and we can see, what especially is also interesting from European cases, for instance. And for today, I chose the topic initiation for an intentional community, the really early foundation phase. And it's still, I say it's really also important if you have set up already a group or even a piece of land. It's still important to always refer to your initial intention, really to do this on a regular basis. I will talk about it. And next time we will have the topic, the next step agreements and frames, and what is shared, what is private. So this will be like the next step in the planning of a community. So I will talk about 20 minutes, and then we have about 20 minutes breakouts shares amongst you, where you can share about your state of the art of your project, or also what has motivated or what your questions are about this, what I talked about. And then we come together for a final talk and share. I want to start with these three main important points that Cynthia has on the website here, what is actually the challenges or the points why communities fail? Yeah. So, and the 3 points I think are really very important to look at, and you can work on them, and you do it already. And in our Western individualized societies, I see the major challenges in point 1 and 3. So it's in inexperienced founders, because we haven't learned that in school or anywhere. We have learned you're an individual in a competitive society, and we are very individualized, and that's also good, even for founding communities, I say. And still, we need to learn also to these community skills and have to deal with challenging interpersonal dynamics, of course, because we haven't learned it. So my recommendation is to start with a first step. What you have done already is information, visiting best practice projects, maybe, and going to courses like this. This is, of course, a very good step. And then the next will be find and formulate your own vision as clearly as possible. So, and I really, because most of the, actually all of these communities I have seen, they have started like this on an individual base, and then they will find together and network amongst each other. And there are possible methods. Yeah, so I know, for instance, from Joe Dispenza or the Power of Eight group by Lynn McTaggart or something, so that you see the formation of the vision in your mind, in your spirit, in your feelings also. You need to feel it. This is really the starting point to manifest a community, I would say, from my experience. So, and it doesn't need to be spiritual. It also can be on a mind base or very creative. You can paint or something. And yeah, and this vision needs to be communicated very clearly, that you attract those people you want to attract or who fit to you. I would say it's even the most delicate phase of a community in this beginning, because everything is open and possible. Yeah, you set the intention, you send it out. And a part of it is probably conscious, but another part is unconscious. And the more conscious it is, the more, yeah, practical and probably successful the community will be, I would say. And conscious not necessarily means it's all mindy on a paper. It also can be in your feelings. And still, like the universe, the Big Bang also started with a very hot, very hot and dense energy. And it needed a intention, a direction. So, and this gives the energy what the creation will be about. Yeah, because there are issues around this first phase. Yeah, if we look into the cases we have now also, I mean, Findhorn is a very spiritual community. They started with a very charismatic founder, and they started with the inner voice within. So they had their like kind of spiritual guidance, for instance. And if you found a community, if you are the founder, or you have somebody else, or you are a group or a core group of founders, yeah, you have to deal with certain issues, because your charisma or people will come and expect things from you, or I mean, you have to deal with these issues. And it's also important to send out a certain motivation to say, okay, wow, here is something that is of value that we will start here. And at a certain point, it's also good to give some things to other people, to delegate something to other people, that it's not just the founder who creates the community. Yeah, it should be a community, not a one person show at a certain point. At least, of course, there are different, different options to create a community. Yeah, and what I also found really helpful to clarify quite in the beginning is power, influence, and responsibility. Because power, I mean the ability for decision making, for instance, um yeah, who can decide on what, needs to be in balance with the responsibility for carrying also the decisions. So in some communities, for instance, it was a commune in Germany, they had this early phase where they said, oh, we do all in consensus. And there were like 50 people sitting in a circle and only 20 people of those already living at the place. And the other ones came from outside just as interested members, and they all decided consensus. And that was a challenge because 30 people, they didn't take responsibility for the decisions. So that was not the best idea. So to really see, okay, who has the power, who has to take on the responsibilities, also financially and so on, to have the balance there. And then sooner or later to build and establish a core group. That also has to do with commitment. I will come to this later. And formulate a common ground and negotiate on it on a certain sense. But you can start with this already on your own and attract then like-minded people, of course. Yeah. And the question about legal structure, ownership, form, like the possession, the whatever, the land ownership, if you do this on an individual base or as a cooperative or foundation, or I'm not so familiar with the legal laws in the USA, but what I know from Europe, from Great Britain, from Germany, from Austria is, for instance, cooperative foundation is something when you really want to have it in a very a common sense, so that people decide together and own together. And other forms, individual ownership, this is always, you have to take this into account, what this has an effect on the community. If one person is the owner and responsible for the land ownership, this is always a bit a situation, well, that needs to be dealt with. Yeah, so these principles you should think about in the beginning. I recommend it's really good. Yeah, and your vision should be clear practically in all areas of life. Whoa, that's big. Yeah, this is the recommendation and ideal. Yeah, at least it should be good to clarify what do we want to organize communally and what needs to be organized communally. And what do we want to leave up to private decision and to private life? So, and how much tolerance can be accepted? I mean, if you live in a neighborhood or even in an urban neighborhood, maybe in one house, so it's quite close. Also, if people have their own houses or their own apartments. But for instance, here the question of pets. Yeah, I think that was about Ithaca. I think it was a topic, yeah, in the video here that Cynthia posted, and that maybe some of you have seen. So, and I observed this also in other communities, because you can say pets, that's private thing if you have your dog or your cat, but then they walk around the community and the entire neighborhood, and it has some effects maybe. And yeah, also noise, music, and all these issues. That's maybe good to think about this. And there are tools also that you can use. In Siebenlinden, we use the pattern language by Christopher Alexander, I guess. Yeah, I just remember this now. Because if you have a piece of land already, you can walk on the land and sense into what is appropriate in which place, for instance, or so. I mean, depends on what is now what you need. Huh? And of course, if there is a certain philosophy, a religious belief, this can help to have a common understanding of the world. Yeah, that can help. And I really also like communities that are very open-minded and allow practically everything. But then it's even more important to have very clear common ground that you formulate on how you want to live, how you want to live also community. Yeah. And some general consensus is also, I recommend to have on, for instance, how to raise children. Well, that's also a large topic. In the Ecovillage in Siebenlinden, we had this, okay, Ecovillage, children, it's not a topic. The families, they have their own children. And we have no school here, so it's private. It's not a community topic. But then people living there, children playing with each other, and the children go to the other family and hang out there, and other adults also educate other children and so on. You see, this is community life, yeah, and it goes more and more together. Also, do you have a vision how to care for sick or elderly people, or do you leave this also private? Then it should be also communicated that people, because many people come and seek for community, asking for caring also. Yeah, and of course the financial resources, legal frame, ownership, and so on, I said already. And if we look now as Findhorn as a case now where I come back to soon, we have actually this case here, letting go and trust, very strong. This is also a way how you can create community. It's a more intuitive way, probably. The more if you talk with, Chinese philosophy, yin yang, it would be more the yin way, the receptive way, that you perceive, talk to people, listen to them. And to a certain degree, I would also recommend you to do this, because community is also something responsive. Yeah. And so connections can emerge more also and give space to the unacceptable, to the unexpectable, right? The unacceptable probably should be also clear what is this for you. Yeah. And then trust and keep your vision also, because this you radiate this into the space. You will attract people who share your vision then. Yeah, now I want to look a bit closer into our two cases with you, having heard all this and having the focus now on this early phase of community. So Ithaca Ecovillage, I haven't been there. Maybe some of you have been there. I don't know. Horatio. Yeah, Cynthia and Laura, of course. And somebody else knows Ithaca? Okay. So because of what I heard, and I also have the book here for several years already, and it's a very inspiring project, especially also in terms of sustainability, I would say. And how they started was actually out of an environmental movement. Yeah, in the 90s. There was a global walk for a livable world organized, and 150 people came there. So they used like this energy from this environmental movement, or was used is maybe not the right term. It happened maybe that also the idea for this Ecovillage came out of this environmental movement, this global walk together, and where people really worked together for a project already and had this shared vision. And this gives the energy to have this idea for this also living together project. And what I found also interesting is, I mean, it's very lively, and from her personal experience in this book here, Liz Walker, talked about her like step by step, wow, how she experienced all this. And this first envisioning retreat that they organized, they planned a lot of lectures, topics, organization, and legal things to organize. And then something else emerged because people wanted to work, wanted to connect, wanted to do something. And then they had to really change the whole plan they had for this retreat. And I really like this example. Yeah, because as I said, it's really, I really recommend you to have, if you set up the meeting for your group, for your core group, or you have a group of interested people, it's not just about sharing how and planning and organizing. It's about the heart level, how people feel, sharing the visions, or also do something together. You know, maybe plan a weekend together, go hiking. Cooking together is also very good always, because then you learn how people can spontaneously co-work together. It's a very easy thing to do. Yeah, and Ithaca, I think they write here also that this inspiring vision is one of the reasons for their success. Yeah, as I assume it was also this environmental idea in the 90s, and with this ecological building technology that they applied there. It's actually a building technology from Germany also, what I heard. And yeah, so this is really an innovation also, and an innovation in a ecological sense, technically, but also in a social sense, that they had these different neighborhoods that people in small groups can find a common, yeah, living vision in the neighborhood together, and another neighborhood says, no, we want to do it slightly different. So it's possible to have a larger community with subgroups where you have different aspects or needs in the larger group. For instance, I also know about examples here in Austria where they have a co-housing project, and they wanted to have a really intergenerational project with, I think, about 70 people living there in just one house. And there were families with small children, and there were elderly people wants to have more calm and silence. So they split the building into two pieces. And okay, this is more the calm building where the people who wants to live in a calm neighborhood, they live there. And the other side is with the children and the families, and the children run around there, and it's more lively. So you can bring these things together under one roof, but with different aspects, for instance, so that you think about these things as well. Yeah, and going into Findhorn, we see here, as I mentioned already, the community was not intended, it emerged. So they actually started, here you see Peter and Eileen Keddy and Dorothy McLean. They were the three founding members, and they were experimenting with the inner voice, like with a new age channeling method. And this inner voice was really getting more and more clearly through Eileen Keddy. And she channeled, okay, yeah, you should go from southern England, you should go to northern Scotland. You should leave everything behind, even your family. I mean, it was really a bit tough example. But the experiment with the inner voice, it's maybe something interesting to check. And at least it they followed this inner voice, went to northern Scotland in 1962 on a, well, Peter Keddy had an employment in a hotel, and he was earning the money, and the other ones were living there. But then he was fired suddenly, and they had to live on unemployment rate, and it was not very much money. So they had to do, yeah, they had to be creative. And they started to grow their own vegetable then, because they need to save money and And this was the initiating point of the Findhorn. You see here in the lower picture, Peter Caddy planting here some plants, and it was a very poor soil, just sand. And Dorothy McLean had this ability, a very, yeah, do you say green thumb? You say it German. So she was very, very, yeah, skilled with plants, and she could hear their needs also in her feelings or whatever. So they could really grow vegetables on this poor soil, and the results were amazing. And people from all over the world came to see these veggies. And then they had a large group of people and had to deal, okay, what do we do with all these people? And here you see already the bungalows that they're starting to build on the campsite where they had been going to beforehand already. And they developed certain methods then to structure this community process. Yeah, and I really like these three aspects. So I chose these three now. There's, of course, a bit more, but these are really central, I would say, that they have focalizers. They call it focalizers, not facilitators. It's a bit similar, but the focalizer coordinates certain areas and bring the focus on the most important things, of course. And the focalizers take responsibility and have a certain commitment, of course, for this work department. They focalize. And they hold the space in a certain sense. And then they have attunement. This is a group meditation on a certain topic where they also do decisions in some cases, or they do it also for starting each work shift. And that really helps to bring the team on the same page and to have a good energy, and really it's fun. Just, I mean, yeah, we have done it all the time. Also the guests doing this while working there. And their slogan is work is love in action. Yeah, that's also something positive, so that work has to be done, and it's fun to do it. You see, they have learned from this early phase also on these three aspects, yeah, to summarize. First, in terms of personal growth. So they learn discipline and trust into their intuition, well, also in their vision, I would say. Yeah, I'm not necessarily, I mean, I'm a researcher. I say this is one way with the spiritual approach. You can also have an academic approach or a mental approach to community, or an ethical approach. This is just one way. And practical skills they have learned. And what I found most important, community and social capabilities. So living together on such limited space in 2 caravans, like really glue them together, and has set the foundation, of course, for many other communal living practices, and with the children and the adults together. So they really had to be very tolerant and come along with each other. Yeah, so you find more information under this link where I researched here, Findhorn. The critical turning points of Findhorn are described there if you want to look at it a bit more closely. I will, of course, put it into the material. I will be done soon, yeah, so with the time frame that we are in the time frame. I would like to give you just this example of a design method, how you can, yeah, work if you need a structure to structure your ideas, or also if you're still on your own, or also if you have a group already, you can use this method. It really goes together with both, either alone or as a group. And John Croft, he is from Australia, living in Germany also, and he is giving also workshops for many communities. And he was at the Jan meetings. Maybe Cynthia know him as well. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure what you have heard already, but this method is, I think, something that I can recommend. You start with the dreaming phase, you go into the planning and into the doing, and then also celebrating is important. And celebrating is not just, yeah, we have a party, but it's also about evaluating what has been done so far, what has happened so far. It's actually about reflecting on what has been done or what have you done so far. And you can, in the group, you can give feedback to each other in a very appreciative way. Yeah, you can look on the website. We have not time now to go into details about this method, but there are also coaches out there, and the website, you will find quite some information on this. So what I recommend is also to establish regular meetings with people where you feel there's somebody like-minded and I want to get to know this person a bit more. Maybe it's someone I could found a community with. So to have regular meetings where you exchange your ideas, or if you are at this stage, then also getting a bit more into planning and organization of this project. And at the same time, always also share on a personal base about your issues in your life or your wishes, your visions, also your feelings, your family background also. I mean, the family background is also very interesting to get to know from each other, because this is, yeah, also a pattern, or at least a background where people are based on to build community. Yeah, this is what they come from. So, and to build trust amongst each other, to bring the group together, to glue people together in a way. And there are a lot of methods out there already, I mean, as well, that you can find, like sharing, circling, radical honesty. And well, I can write some together with links and put it onto the platform as well. And as I mentioned already, doing something together at a certain point, if the group is a bit more settled, you say, okay, let's go out for a hiking or a weekend, or cooking together, or visiting each other, or yeah, to really getting to know each other also on a personal level. And then hopefully the core group will somehow develop. And you see here the lower picture. That's me and others in the Ecovillage of Siebenlinden at the ritual where we became members of the cooperative. So this was already after more than half or a year of living together in the Ecovillage. And at this point, we really signed to be members, and we paid the 10,000 euros into the cooperative. And then we had this ritual of becoming a member and really stepping into the community. And we did this with, yeah, the community were on the other side. You cannot see it here. And we went over also into the community to really become a member. And it was really good to have these rituals, to feel it also in the body, and to feel this commitment that I give now to the community. And this is, of course, already a step further, but I think these little commitments and rituals you can do already in the beginning. That you, for example, talk together and say, okay, if we have conflicts, we commit to stay into communication, not just escape with the first little differences. So yeah, because this is maybe nowadays even more a big issue with all this, fluctuation, and people, okay, maybe not. And it's not so easy to commit people to a group. So this might be a challenge that you need to deal with. Okay. So far, I hope I have, yeah, could give you some inspiration.